Good morning and welcome to Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Today we're going to be talking about summer safety and personal injury. If you haven't checked the calendar, today is May 21st. For some reason, a majority of Americans think that today is the first day of summer. It isn't officially until June 21st, a month from today. And then we have Memorial Day weekend and people get into the summer mode after that. So if you're in the summer mode already and you want to know what you need to do about any kind of summer activities to be safe, today's the day to give us a call. Phone number is on your screen. It's 843-848-8080. Call us here today and we'll answer those questions for you. Like I said, summer safety and personal injury as a whole. It's all right here today on Legal Access. And our panel today to answer the questions for you, all from the Maguire Law Firm, is Ian Maguire.
Good to see you, Dave.
Also Mike Smith.
Good morning, Dave.
And Tiffany Buffkin. It's been a while since we've had Tiffany here, but she made time for us today.
Yeah.
That's because she's so busy. Not that we're not, but she is constantly doing trial stuff and litigation, and it's great to have Tiffany here with us, all of us here. Usually this date is a time where we have a boating law show, and this year our resident boating law expert from Charleston couldn't make it, and so we're going to just sort of open it up a little and do personal injury, but concentrate on summer activities such as boating and beach and stuff that happens at the beach, and really outdoor activities that are more prevalent in the summertime, and what can be done to keep people safe, and you know, some of the rules and regulations that are in place to help do that. So I know the three of us all end up having cases that sort of touch on these different topics, and Tiffany, we'll start talking first maybe about, you know, activities on beach and things that we should look for and try to be careful of and avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. So one big, and this is kind of a unique topic, but Ian and I, we have several cases involving beach umbrellas and injuries from a wind-borne beach umbrella, and I think that's an important topic to highlight. Because it's not necessarily, whenever you go to the beach, you're not necessarily thinking about how dangerous a beach umbrella can be if it's not properly anchored. So one thing that, you know, I like to highlight is if you're buying a beach umbrella, you know, that's perfectly fine. It provides protection from the sun. But you know, making sure that the beach umbrella that you purchase is properly anchored. And in 2024, the ASTM International came out with voluntary safety regulations for manufacturers and sellers of beach umbrellas and anchoring devices. And it's really a neat system because it's kind of a complicated system to understand, but what's important is whenever you're buying a beach umbrella or an anchoring system, the manufacturer or seller can indicate whether it is ASTM compliant with that F3681 standard, and that'll indicate to you as a purchaser that that umbrella has undergone mechanical pull test or wind testing to make sure that it is sufficient and it'll withstand the foreseeable winds of the ocean where the umbrella is going to be used. So I think that's one important thing, is whenever you're buying umbrellas, you know, try to ensure that you're buying umbrellas that are compliant with that ASTM standard.
Yeah, because I think, Tiffany, the public probably doesn't realize until it's too late. People have died from beach umbrellas. People have had serious permanent injuries from beach umbrellas, and it's a prevalent issue. It's not you know, a one-off where it's unusual. It actually happens every summer that somebody's seriously injured. So and unfortunately the people that are hurt are not necessarily the people buying the umbrella. They're just innocently sitting or lying on the beach, and so if you get an umbrella, make sure that they're weighted down into the sand, and there's different ways of doing that. And you know, whether it's with the weight of water, which is one way of doing it. There's sand ways, and there's anchors that go into the beach. So that is definitely something, it's especially relevant as Dave mentioned, the summer is about to
Yeah.
begin and everyone's embarking on the beach,
Yeah,
so.
and I really think it's an issue that kind of requires the community as a whole,
Yeah.
the manufacturers, users, everyone to make sure that your umbrellas are compliant and that they're safe and they won't become airborne. Because whenever they do become airborne, it is, significant injuries that people usually sustain, including fatalities.
Well, let's stay at the beach for a minute. I mean, as far as swimming on the beaches, I mean, lifeguards are provided in a lot of different beach areas, but if there's not a lifeguard present and you end up drowning or nearly drowning in the waters offshore, is a municipality responsible for that?
We've had a pretty recent lawsuit about that, Dave, and people can look that up in the newspaper and see what happened. It was a fairly large verdict. It wasn't so much the municipality as it was the lifeguard company that was the target in that particular instance. We have that, but one of the things that I've noticed in my career is that when it comes to the summertime, people let their guard down. And they're coming to Myrtle Beach, they're coming here to vacation and have a good time. And what I've seen is some tragedies happen just from inattention. You mentioned, the swimming and the drowning. A lot of the swimming pools up and down the beach have some, locking mechanisms and all, but you'll rarely find that 24/7 lifeguard by the pool. And I've had way too many cases of minor children getting in these swimming pool areas, and even though there's signage that says, swim at your own risk or no lifeguard, that little 4-year-old or 5-year-old or 6-year-old doesn't understand the ramifications of that. So when you're on vacation, understand that there are so many, we call them attractive nuisances. There's so many of them out there,
Right.
and to be conscious of that. Another situation that I see that people don't think about is, we have so many high-rise hotels, and again, you've got these young children, and they'll go pull up a chair and look over the balcony rail just to see all the exciting things, and they'll see a seagull and reach out for it. And I've had those cases where minor children have fallen off the balconies, and it's a tragedy for everybody.
We're talking about summer safety here today and personal injuries surrounding that. If you have any questions about that or personal injury in general, give us a call. Phone number's on your screen, 843-848-8080. We'd love to talk to you here today on Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Today we're talking about summer safety and personal injury surrounding that. If you have any questions in general or specifically, give us a call. The phone number's on your screen. We would love to hear from you, and on the panel to answer those questions today, all from the Maguire Law Firm, is Ian Maguire, also Mike Smith and Tiffany Buffkin. Give us a call, and we'd love to talk to you. Now, we talked about the beach a second ago, and we've got more things to talk about as far as swimming is concerned, but golf carts, I had a question about that. Now, a lot of people will take golf carts out on the roads, and I know a lot of municipalities have rules regarding what you can and can't do, but golf carts, are they just as responsible for wrecks or not? as far as being on the roads are concerned? Are there any special rules?
Yes, if you're operating a golf cart on a roadway, then you have to follow the rules of the road, just as if you were in a vehicle, certainly.
Yep.
We have seen some pretty significant injuries from golf carts because you get people riding on the back of a golf cart and they'll get bumped off,
Right.
and they're not wearing any kind of helmet, so you've got the bare head striking pavement. I've seen loss of consciousness and traumatic brain injury from golf cart accidents.
Yeah, they're a lot like motorcycles in the sense
Yeah.
that you
Right.
don't have the protection if you
Exactly.
fall off them, and you're unfortunately they do result in serious injuries. And you don't think of golf carts maybe that way, but we've had over the years just
And you get some of our communities around here utilize golf carts a lot.
Yeah.
To get to and from the beach. They're crossing Highway 17, crossing Ocean Boulevard. And then you get the large campgrounds that we have here that are mini towns within a town.
Right.
And you get a 16-year-old driver on a golf cart thinking he's, not capable of having any injury or any fault of his own. They can get to be wild and crazy devices of injury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people come down here, they'll rent a golf cart down on
Right.
Ocean Boulevard, they're not aware of the rules of the road, but for all intents and purposes, a golf cart is a motor vehicle?
I'm not going to say that because of the definition.
Yeah.
But follow the rules of the road
Yeah.
with a golf cart, but be very careful because you don't have the speed that normally you would have in an automobile. But everybody, again, they let their hair down, they let their defenses down when
Right.
it comes to golf carts. And the next step from golf carts, Ian mentioned it, are motorcycles. We're in the midst of
Yeah.
motorcycle month in this county, and it is extremely difficult to see motorcycles when you're out and driving around. And it's interesting because the windshield pillar of a car will completely block a motorcycle. You can't see it coming to
Right.
you. So you look once, twice, three times to make sure you're not engaging motorcycles that are coming on the roadway.
And that's what's so important, is that we all know that if you only look for a split second, you might miss a motorcycle. So as an operator of a motor vehicle, we really have a duty, especially in this area where we know that that we have a lot of motorcycles, especially during the summer, that you take the extra 3-4 seconds before you make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn to make sure that there's not a motorcycle that was in your blind spot. Similarly, whenever it's switching lanes, it's so dangerous to rely on the safety indicator on your side mirror. It's so important to look and double check to make sure that there's not a motorcycle kind of in your lane of travel.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm sorry, Mike,
Okay.
with drinking and driving, we talk about the best thing to do is make sure you get a ride share or have a designated driver. But it becomes even more evident of potential issues when at this time of year, especially when the roads are crowded and you have motorcycles, because they have those commercials, buzz driving is drunk driving. And it may or may not be under the law, right?
Yeah.
If you have one drink. But what it will do is a drink or two drinks is it might mess up your perception or your ability to make decisions quickly. So this time of year more than ever, I would be extremely careful about drinking at all while getting behind a wheel. Instead, just opt for the safe route, because it could be something that otherwise wouldn't have happened. But when there's motorcycles and crowded roads the way there's going to be in the next few weeks, you almost got to be even better than normal,
Yeah,
Right.
or
I
more
agree.
safer than normal.
And
As
another
far-
thing,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say another thing, Dave, going along with the drinking and how it reduces your reflexes. One of the things that we find a lot during the summertime is folks are relying on their GPS to figure out where they're going. And you have so many tourists in town that their eyes are locked on the map to find out where to turn for the restaurant, that they're they could be in the middle lane, they could be in the left lane, and that turn of theirs is right up the road on the right.
Oh, yeah.
And we see multiple lane changes, things of that nature. Your defensive driving has got to really notch it up in the summertime because there's so many people that just don't know the roadways around here.
Yeah, and if I maybe switch gears a little and go to, in the summer you have more barbecues, more hosting events. How will that affect people as far as if people are drinking on your premises and you're serving them alcohol?
Yeah.
How does that all work?
So with social liability law, and I have a 16-year-old son, so I'm always worried. But if you're going to have drinks at your house, you're not necessarily, I think that it's the right thing to do to make sure that all of your guests, whenever they leave, that no one has drank too much or that they're leaving your house intoxicated. But generally, as far as the liability standpoint, unless one of your social guests is a minor, then you won't necessarily be found liable if a guest leaves your house and they're intoxicated and causes a collision. However, if you have a minor that leaves your home and you have given them alcohol, or they somehow have consumed alcohol at your house, then you certainly can be found liable if they're in a collision. So I think it's so important, especially with minors and young adults, to make sure that they don't have access to alcohol, that it's separate from.
And that's a great point, the word access, because it doesn't, the defense is not going to be, well, I didn't know he was in the house, I didn't know he got to the liquor cap.
Yeah.
That's not probably going to fly. So it's you really got to be ultra aware of what's going on in your home when you have minors, in that situation.
And just young adults in general, because driving, necessarily you have to multitask and your attention is kind of divided. So the younger a person is, even if they're 21, 22, and you're not that experienced with driving, if you have any alcohol in your system, with the delayed by virtue of having alcohol, your senses will be delayed. And combine that with not having experience with driving, it really is dangerous.
Staying with alcohol for a second, and we're talking about summer safety. A lot of people come down to the beach and maybe go to the bar a little bit more than they should. Now, as far as bars' responsibilities for people once they get out on the road, I know that they're looking at potentially changing that in the state of South Carolina, but where does it stand right now? Where can you determine who got the drink, or who gave the drink to the driver that's responsible for an accident they had, if they'd been at 4 different bars throughout the course of the night?
Well, it's not necessarily that simple that you boil it down to a specific drink that put you over the edge. Bartenders and anyone serving alcohol should be trained, and that goes without saying as part of your business to make sure that's done. You really do have a responsibility. You're making money off people drinking and potentially getting intoxicated, so you have a duty to make sure that doesn't happen. Frankly, from a practical standpoint, what'll happen, and what you mentioned, where they've gone to a number of bars, is probably they're going to trace it back to the various bars and look at individually at each place what was done and what wasn't done. So it's important.
The law's there's sort of 2 levels. You can't serve somebody to the point of intoxication, and you can't serve an intoxicated person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So each of these bars could be on the hook.
Yeah.
Should there be a catastrophe arising?
That's a great point. If the 4th bar, they just give somebody a beer, but they were clearly intoxicated and shouldn't have been served a beer, they're probably going to be on the hook as much or more. The other thing I mentioned is if you're a business and you're sponsoring an event in the summertime, it might, as Tiffany properly stated, if you're an adult and somebody's drinking at your house and they're adult, you're not going to be on the hook. But if you're a business and sponsor an event, you really could be on the hook if somebody gets intoxicated. So that you might have an interest in making sure there's ride shares or whatever to get people home safe.
Tell you what, we're going to run to a break here real quick. We're talking about summer safety and personal injury surrounding that. If you have any questions, got a little less than 10 minutes left to get that call in to us, but give us a call. The number's on your screen. We'd love to talk to you right here on Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. We're talking about summer safety and personal injury today. If you have any last-minute questions, you can get them in right now, 843-848-8080. This time of the year, a lot of people will take it upon themselves to do some of the repairs around their house that needed to be done all year long. If you have something like on your roof or something that needs to be done, but you don't want to hire somebody from Google, you just talk to your friend down the road, said, hey, I need this done over here. They get up on your roof and they do something, they fall off the roof. Are you on the hook for their injuries?
That's a very fact-specific question, because it really depends. If you had a dangerous condition on your property, and you warned them that this is a dangerous issue, or really and they were aware of it, then that's. It really could the homeowner be liable? It depends on the specifics of what the condition is. If you have a contractor that comes over or your buddy is making repairs at your house and they get injured because they fell off the roof and it was completely their fault and you didn't do anything wrong, you're not going to be on the hook for their injuries. It really, everything in that scenario would come down to the reasonableness of your actions versus their actions. And certainly if you didn't do anything negligent, then as the homeowner, you're not going to have any responsibility if it was solely their own mistake in falling off of the roof.
I think the advice from that question I would give is if you have a home and you have people on your property, have insurance.
Yes.
Make sure you have insurance, right?
Yeah, and I think in most situations it is advantageous as a homeowner to contract with someone who has a license and insurance of their own, because then you can then you can assume that they know kind of the ins and outs of that trade, so you're not having to worry, did I warn them, do they know what they're encountering? So that kind of adds kind of insulates you from liability at that point if the person you're hiring is insured and licensed.
Yeah. Now, Ian, at the beginning you said normally the Thursday before Memorial Day we'd do a boating show. We didn't do that, but I mean, there will be a lot of people out boating on the rivers, lakes, waterways, and even the ocean here this weekend and throughout the course of the summer. We talk about DUI all the time. BUI is something else that you can be arrested for, boating under the influence.
Yeah.
Are any of you versed on what the
Well,
difference on that is?
I think the most important thing, and again, the oceans and the summertime, people are drinking, and drinking on boats, and you think, wow, there's not a lot of traffic on the water, there's a lot of room, but some of the most catastrophic, horrific accidents occur every summer with boating and drinking. So again, we can't emphasize enough, and just like motorcycles where you really have no protection, when a crash occurs, it's like that with, and add to the fact that now you're in the ocean after, if you go flying out of the boat. So, and it's just horrific things have happened, and it can be avoided with just getting a designated person to drive and really following the rules and be aware, right, Mike?
And Dave, interestingly enough, the waterway and the Waccamaw River are two areas that are frequented a lot by Horry County residents. It's one of the things I realized when I moved to Conway is people weren't interested in going to the beach, they were interested in going to the river.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you that in the summertime, if you think 501 is bad, get on the Intercoastal Waterway in a boat. It is bumper to bumper. And you get these 16-year-old, 18-year-olds doing 50, 60 miles an hour in a bass boat. It is scary. And the Coast Guard on boating requires certain safety devices, and that's something that that everybody needs to be aware of. You've got to have a flotation device for every occupant of the boat. You have to have a whistle or an air horn in case you
Right.
break down that you can get somebody's attention. You've got to have flares and things of that nature.
Right. Remember, as for summer safety or any personal injury questions you have, contact a personal injury lawyer. Consultations are free, so give somebody a call to find out about your situation. That's all the time we have for our show here today. Next week when we get together, we're going to be talking about workers' compensation. So if you have any questions about that, hold on until next Thursday, and you can give us a call or you can email in advance, legalaccess@WMBFnews.com. For everybody from the Maguire Law Firm, I'm Dave Priest. See you again next Thursday.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently representing